Hello, black people. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Daniel is in the house on tonight, and as you can see, I have Christmas decorations behind me. I'm not finished decorating. I haven't even put up my Christmas tree yet. I need to put that up, but I did this in like 10 minutes just for this video. Like when I finish filming, I'm gonna take all this stuff down. No, I'm gonna leave the lights up and I'm gonna leave these bands up, but everything else I'm gonna just take down. But on tonight is the second night of Vlogmas. I am so excited for Saturday because I'm going over to my aunt's house and I'm gonna be doing a full-on vlog there. I might do a prank, I don't know. But today I'm gonna be telling the story about how in 6th grade we had... Did you just throw some over here?
Hi! So if you don't know, I am his brother. I am the one that made him. I am his ruler.
You know what? If you move your foot.
It's Christmas time. The most wonderful time of the year.
You know what?
Yeah. I'm his brother. I'm almost 11 years older than him. If y'all didn't know that. Goodbye.
Leave. All right. Leave.
You know what? I can't get up. Okay. Goodbye.
Okay. I'm back. So, excuse that interruption. Excuse that interruption. So, like I was saying, I'm going to be telling the story about how in 6th grade, my 6th grade field trip. Now, my friends who may be watching this, if you knew me in 6th grade, you know probably the story I'm about to tell. So, here we go. I'm not going to mention anybody's names just to keep everybody safe and private and their identity private. But I'm going to be saying this. So, 6th grade, I went to a performing arts middle school. It was one of the most ghettoest schools in Broward County. I like the ghetto, you know, I love the ghetto. I associate myself with the ghetto. People say I'm very ghetto, but I love the ghetto, you know. So we, in 6th grade, we went to Universal Studios and we had 3 buses and you got on each of the 3 buses by your last name. So if your last name was from A to F or E or something like that, you got on the first bus, and then, you know, so on and so forth. I remember I woke up at 3:30 in the morning and I took a shower, got ready, and I got to the school. Everybody was there. Everybody was getting in their groups because you had to get with your group, and we got on the buses. We left at 5:30. So I got up 3:30, got to the school at about 4:30, maybe 4:30, and we left at 5:30, so an hour later. About, I want to say an hour and a half, an hour and a couple minutes into our trip, we were in Port St. Lucie. Yeah, Port St. Lucie. And if you take this road called Turnpike, it takes you all the way up north. I don't know how far it goes, but it goes up north pretty far, past a couple of states. So driving from Florida and going all the way up north. So we stopped in Port St. Lucie, which is an hour into our trip. Mind you, to get to Universal Studios, that's a 3-hour drive. So we already drove 1 hour. We stopped at one of the rest stops in Port St. Lucie. And they stopped there to let everybody use the bathroom. Even though they had bathrooms on the buses, they didn't want really anybody using the bathroom on the bus. So we stopped in Port St. Lucie for everybody to get off the bus, use the bathroom. Now, mind you, before we stopped, I remember our bus driver kept falling asleep on the wheel. He kept like dozing off, and the bus would lean and like go off the side of the highway for a minute. Everybody would scream and then our assistant principal would keep hitting the man like, wake up, you got kids on the bus. And I don't blame him, because it's like, I understand it's 5:30 in the morning, but you are a bus driver and you are driving 6th grade kids. 3 hours. So you shouldn't be falling asleep at the wheel. I don't know what you did the night before, but you should have took your behind to bed and went to sleep and got rest so you could drive us because ain't nobody else is qualified to drive this bus. That's one thing to keep in mind. You can only drive those like charter bus, because we had a charter bus, like those big expensive charter buses. You can only drive those buses if you have a certain license. So it's not like if he falls asleep at the wheel, they can just switch, you know, our assistant principal can just drive, or a teacher. No, you have to have a license and training to drive that bus. So he was the only one on our bus that could drive. So we stopped. We got at the rest stop and we stopped not only to use the bathroom and grab a couple snacks, but we stopped there because our bus driver was falling asleep. And mind you, we were on the third bus, like the first, second, and we were on the last third bus. So I remember we stopped at the rest stop, and everybody else, what is going on? Everybody else who was not in our group, who was on the other buses, they started to get up and go back, because it was like, I would say 30 minutes passed after everybody finished using the restrooms and got what they wanted to get to eat and drink. The first two bus groups, which is bus 1 and bus 2, they got up and started to go to their buses. Bus 3, which was our group, we started to get up and start walking. As we got to our bus, they told bus 3, the group of bus 3, to turn around and go back in the rest area and sit back down. So we sat back down, and about 5 minutes goes by. And I remember one of my friends who was in our group for Universal Studios, they were in the first bus and they had left. And they called me about 5 minutes later after we sat back down, and they said, "Oh, y'all driving on the highway? Because we only see 2 buses." And I kind of paused for a second. I'm like, "Y'all on the highway?" And they said, "Yeah, we just left." And I'm like, "Y'all left us?" Like, do they know that they left us? They left the third bus. So I went to our assistant principal and I told him, I said, Mr. Such and Such, like, do you know that, the first 2 buses left? And he talking about, "Yeah, we know." And I'm like, "So why did they leave and we didn't leave? Like, we were the only bus that didn't leave, the third bus." And he said, "We have to," and this is what made me mad. He said, "We got to wait for another bus driver." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we just waiting for another bus driver because our assistant principal fired the one who was falling asleep on the wheel on the spot. So he had to go. I don't know what. I actually, to this day, I don't know how he got back home, because according to other people, he lived all the way in Miami. So I don't know how he got back home. But when he said that we have to wait to another bus driver, I'm thinking that the bus driver we have to wait for is like somewhere close, near. So I'm thinking, okay, we just finna sit here for a little bit and then, hit the road. About 15 minutes goes by, and somebody who was in our group, I guess, heard from our assistant principal. They came back and told us that we have to sit there and wait almost 2 hours for another qualified licensed bus driver to drive our bus. We have to sit there and wait 2 hours, because the reason why we have to sit there and wait 2 hours is because the bus driver who we have to wait for lives in Miami. Also Miami. Both of them live in Miami. And Miami is an hour drive from our school, from where we started. And Port St. Lucie is an hour north of our school. So that distance combined is 2 hours. So we have to wait 2 hours for another. So we have to sit at this rest stop and wait 2 hours for another bus driver to come. Mind you, we already drove an hour north. We only had 2 more hours. So that means by the time the new bus driver comes, the other 2 buses are already going to be at Universal Studios. And 2 hours into the first 2 groups in Universal Studios, we just gonna be getting there. So it's like we're not gonna have that much time in Universal Studios to, have fun. So I got mad and I just sat there on my phone. I had it plugged in. I was charging on my phone, watching Netflix for time to go by. I forgot what I was watching, but it was a good show. I was very hooked into it. 2 hours go by quickly, quicker than I thought. I guess I was into the show. And the new bus driver comes and we get on the bus. Finally, everybody's happy, relieved. Thank you, Jesus. So I remember we got on the bus and we left. About 15 minutes after we got on the highway from the rest stop, one of my friends from the first 2 buses said that they already are at the park. And I checked my map and it said that we were 2 hours and 2 hours. Was it 2 hours and 2 minutes? I think it was 2 hours and 2 minutes away. So they already at the park, and we 2 hours and 2 minutes away from the park. So they already about to have fun and stuff and get on all the rides. You know, that's just messing with our group, because we all had planned to get on everything at the same time, but we couldn't do that anymore. So when we fast forward 2 hours and 2 minutes later, we finally got to the park. Our groups, we all met with each other. And when we were there, we were supposed to leave the park at 8 o'clock and get back home at 10. No, get back at home at 11. We were supposed to leave the park at 7 and get home at 10. But since we got there 2 hours after everyone else, we got to stay a little longer. We got the third bus group, our group, we got to stay until, I think, was it 10? We stayed till 10, and we got back home at like 1 o'clock. But before we got back home, we had fun, ate turkey legs, got on the rides, watched everything. We just had fun at Universal Studios. Got on one of my favorite roller coasters, Revenge of the Mommy. I love that roller coaster. We got on that like 5 times back to back, because the line was only a 5-minute wait. So we just got off, got right back on, got off. It was fun. We had so much fun. So some of the people from my group had to leave because they were in the first 2 buses, and the third group, like third bus group, we stayed a little longer because we got there a little longer, a little after them. And I remember that it was 5 minutes before we had to go. So they already told us the time schedules of when we had to be back at the bus. So that doesn't include like being at the entrance of the park. No, we have to walk all the way from one side of the park to the other just to get to the entrance, and then walk all the way across City Walk. Because if you ever been to Universal Studios in Orlando, you would know that you have to go across this bridge, and it's called City Walk, with all these restaurants and stores, and then go into the parking lot just to get to the bus. So we only had 5 minutes left. And I remember we were on Revenge of the Mommy. The last ride we rode was Revenge of the Mommy again. That was the 6th time. One of the girls in our group, she had to put her stuff in a locker. And I remember she put her stuff in a locker, and when it was time for us to hurry up and go, she went to her locker, and if I remember correctly, she tried to open her locker, but it wouldn't open. And at first we all thought that she forgot her lock, like what locker she put her stuff in. Because I'm like, okay, if this is the locker you say you put it in, it's not working, it has to be another locker. You know, something has to work. So time is just ticking and ticking. Everybody else that was on the third bus is starting to get back to the bus, and everybody's starting to wonder where we were. We running around the park trying to find people to help us open this locker, open all the lockers just to see if her stuff is in there. And we couldn't find nobody. Literally, it was crazy because we could not find one staff member. I'm not saying Universal Studios is, bad or anything. I'm just saying at that time, we could not find not one staff member. No one. The only staff was the people who was working the ride, and they couldn't leave the ride because they have to work the ride. So we was panicking, running around. And then on top of that, we, like, half of our group split up to try to find the entrance to the park so we can go tell the others that, someone left their stuff in the locker and we can't get it out, while the other half stayed in the park and tried to run around and find people, like staff members, to help us out. So everybody in our group just getting mad and pissed and everything. Finally, lo and behold, I don't know who or when or where or why, but somebody in our group found a staff member. They opened the same locker that she tried the first time, and it worked. I guess it malfunctioned some type of way to where it wouldn't open her stuff, but they opened it with the key. She got her stuff. We made sure we had everything, and we ran all the way from the back to the entrance, cross City Walk to the bus. Got on the bus. We got back home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Our parents were wondering. And on top of that, our parents didn't know that we got there later than everyone else. So they thinking that all the buses are going to come back at one time. But when the first 2 came, everybody was wondering, where the third bus? What happened to the third bus? We finally came 2 hours later. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I went home. I didn't go to school that next day because it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I had to take a shower, then go to bed at about 3 o'clock, and then be up at 6 o'clock just for school in the morning. A lot of kids didn't go to school that next day because they felt like, you know, we got home too late. So that was my story time on my 6th grade field trip. I hope you guys are enjoying Vlogmas. I'm going to try to see if I can go to my aunt's house on Saturday and film some stuff with her. And yeah, have a great Christmas and happy holidays, because I know some people don't celebrate Christmas, but to the ones who do, happy Christmas, and to the ones who don't, happy holidays, Hanukkah, and everything else that I cannot remember. Goodbye. Good night.